Tonight, a drastic change is needed. The stark warning from a former Tory MSP who's resigned, saying the party will struggle in next year's election. Also tonight,
take shorter showers and use a watering can instead of a hose. I'll have more advice on how to reduce your water use after Scotland's driest start to the year for 70 years.
And I'm at the Scone Palace International Horse Trials, where over the course of the weekend, more than 1,000 riders will be competing, with more than 20,000 people coming to watch the event.
While in sport, this gives us a chance and we will try and take it. Aberdeen manager Jimmy Tilleen hailed his players and the Dons fans after they rescued a draw in last night's Europa League tie. I'm Andrea Breimer. This is the STV News at 6, live from Aberdeen. Good evening. A drastic change in policy is needed. That's the stark warning to the Scottish Conservatives from a former Tory MSP who said they'll struggle in next year's election. Jeremy Balfour announced he's quit the party and will now sit as an independent. Mr Balfour said he feels the party no longer has a positive platform to stand on. Well, Stephen is here with me now in the studio. And Stephen, this is the second Tory MSP to leave since Russell Finlay took over.
Yeah, absolutely. And the question that has to perhaps be posed is when exactly does this become something of a crisis for the Conservatives in Scotland? Because Jeremy Balfour, this man, might not be the most recognisable name in politics in Scotland, but he's been pretty scathing in his assessment of the performance of the Scottish Conservatives. In his resignation letter, he talks about the party falling into the trap of reactionary politics, claiming there's little interest from party leadership in policy innovation and that there's more focus on rural areas and not enough on cities. Now, the Lothian Regional MSP today told us he thinks next year's election will be hard for the Tories.
Unless they can have a really clear message of this is what Scottish Conservatism means, then they are going to struggle because, you know, for the first time we have people on the right of us, we've got people on the left of us, unless there's a really clear message, then we are going to not do well in the election.
So what then of this man? Russell Finlay, the Scottish Conservative leader, took over last year. Since then, he's lost two MSPs, Jeremy Balfour and Jamie Green. Jamie Green said he thought more would follow. And there's a lot of pressure ahead of the Scottish Parliament elections next year, with some polls suggesting the Conservatives could slip into fourth or even worse. Now, in a statement, the Scottish Conservatives said that they were disappointed by Jeremy Balfour's comments, but thanked him for his service. They said they know there are some people who are disconnected from politics, but that they would continue to champion what they call common sense Conservative values. Now, in the last Scottish Parliament elections, the Conservatives won 5 constituencies, including in Aberdeenshire West. But in the North East, there's been a lot of chat about the possible performance of reform. A number of councillors have already defected to them, in fact 5 in Aberdeenshire alone. On the list, well, in the north of Scotland is where they fared best. The North East could be key again. The Tories picking up 4 MSPs there last time around. It was the same number in the Highlands and Islands and 4 again in mid-Scotland and Fife. Everything, though, points to things being far harder this time around for the Conservatives, and a lot of work to be done before May.
Thanks, Stephen. We're being told that we can all do our bit to save water as reservoir levels across the country drop below normal levels. The warning comes after the driest spring in 70 years. Well, Scottish watchers say with no significant rainfall forecast for the rest of this month, it is important that everyone helps. Well, Anne joins us now live. So, Anne, this month has been drier than expected. In fact, the whole summer's been fantastic and many people will have loved that, but it has caused problems.
Yes, it has got problems, I'm afraid, Andrea. Scotland's had the driest start to the year for 70 years, and August has been much drier than normal. And it means that here in the northeast, water levels are almost a quarter lower than they should be at this time of year. In fact, some reservoirs are less than half full. And of course, with these dry conditions, we've all been using more water.
we've seen demand increase by about 100 million litres per day across Scotland. Now, we can't make it rain, but each of us can do our bit to try and reduce that demand, and that can be small steps. If you own a garden, it's not using the hose, not using the sprinklers. Your lawn will recover when the rain comes back. If you have to water plants, use a watering can instead of a hose. All of us, could we try and shave a couple of minutes off our showers? Can we switch the tap off when we're brushing our teeth? These are small steps, but across a population of 5.5 million people, they all add up, they make a big difference.
So, Anne, just how serious is the situation then?
Well, I think it's actually really quite serious, Andrea. I mean, it's really rare to see water levels this low at this time of year. In fact, it's only been the second time they've been this low in the last 40 years. And Scottish Water says it's using tankers to try and boost up supplies in some areas. And it's looking at other ways where it can bring in extra water to reservoirs in Dundee and Tayside. So yeah, it really is quite a problem, and I'm not really sure. I think really what Scottish Water are wanting to say tonight is that we all really have to do our bit to make a difference.
All right, Anne, many thanks for that. Now, how confident are you that you'd be able to spot when something shared online is actually artificially generated? It's becoming harder to know what's real and what's fake on social media, and even harder to know how to harness AI to our benefit. Well, that's the challenge a team of academics at Robert Gordon University are trying to fix by teaching school children how to use artificial intelligence responsibly, as Oliver Wright has been finding out.
Whether you realise it or not, you're probably using artificial intelligence every day. From searching the web, scrolling social media, and even choosing what to watch, AI is behind every click. While it can be useful, it's being used increasingly for sharing misinformation online. And that's something that's worrying young people.
Probably 2 years ago, it's really easy to see if something is AI or not, but now it's become really good.
They just take that for granted and don't think about where that information is coming from, who they're stealing that information from.
It could get very out of hand, and it could possibly lead to really bad consequences.
AI is everywhere, and its usage amongst young people is increasing rapidly. It's becoming increasingly harder to trust what you see online. Looks quite realistic, doesn't it? Except it's not. I made that in about 15 minutes using an online tool, and I could get him to say anything I wanted in anyone's voice, even if it's not true. At Robert Gordon University, it's a problem academics want to fix.
When it involves social, human-sensitive data, we have to be really careful, because artificial intelligence is not just being a technical system, it's now being a social-technical system because of that interfacing with human elements.
They're working with school children to develop a toolkit which can teach them not only how to spot when something might be misinformation, but also how they can use AI responsibly themselves. It's a project they say is needed fast.
The biggest experimentation that is happening in the world at the moment, and we have to, everyone's using it, even we know it or we don't know it about. We are using it when we are using mobile devices, when we get Netflix recommendations, always we are using it. So kids have to live with it throughout their life, unlike us. We know it's coming and we have time to train ourselves, but kids don't have that chance.
The toolkit uses games to introduce concepts like AI ethics, likening it to things young people already understand, but helping them get to grips with the new technology.
It opens up conversations with young people to get them to understand issues that have to do with data collection, the ethics of online connectivity, transparency, their own actually rights as young people in terms of the data that is collected and how data can be manipulated as well.
Artificial intelligence is very much here to stay. But it's hoped that educating the next generation in how to harness this technology for good will go a long way in making the internet a safer place. Oliver Wright, STV News.
2 people have been taken to hospital following a 2-vehicle crash in Perthshire. Emergency services were called to the collision on the A9 near Tibermore shortly before 8:30 this morning. One patient was taken to Ninewells Hospital in Dundee and the other to Perth Royal Infirmary. The road was closed northbound for around an hour, causing lengthy tailbacks. Now, with an ageing population, more of us in Scotland are living longer. But according to the latest data, the years we can expect to live in good health is at a 10-year low. The reasons are said to be complex, but Perth and Kinross is bucking the trend, with the community of Aberfeldy now on a mission to become Scotland's healthiest town. Well, Fraser Nicholl has been to see what changes they've been making in their everyday lives.
Let's get going.
They're not quite walking 500 miles, but this chair exercise class has everyone moving, even those in their 90s.
I get to keep my body going because I can't get out for a walk anymore.
The sociability goes a long way, and if I remember to practice during the week, it does me even more good.
Round the corner, a cooking class for young people with additional support needs. On the menu today is a Mediterranean salad using fresh ingredients.
I was cutting up tomatoes for the salad that we're making.
And Dylan loves to eat fruit.
So I'm a big fruit man. I like to have fruit every night, so kind of happy to get.
So maybe learning how to cut the tomatoes, you can learn to cut the fruit a bit better.
Yeah.
Okay. Tomatoes are just one thing being grown at this community garden nearby. There's about an acre here, including lots of fresh produce.
We all know that gardening is good for you. Physical health, mental health and well-being. But not everybody has a garden. So that's one of the main aims of the community garden, is to provide that space for people to come and share.
Our aim is to try to encourage and inspire people to lead healthier lives. We can't make people do that, but if we can make it easier for people to live a healthier life, then they will benefit from that, and everybody wins actually.
The Healthiest Town initiative was started by a group of local health professionals, but drives to improve health were already being made here decades ago. Pioneering GP Dr Wattie Yellowlees wrote the Aberfeldy Manifesto more than 50 years ago with help from local farmers. It spoke about eating local food, cooking more and reducing waste.
That was written in 1974 and it was a response to the economic crisis that was going on at the time. But actually it is equally applicable now. We have an economic crisis, we have an environmental crisis and we have a health crisis. So a fascinating historical document and they were way ahead of their time.
The biggest problem we have nowadays is actually highly processed food. And you know, every health expert will tell you that. And there's more and more takeaways, which I love a takeaway, but more and more of that in every town, city, even a wee village. But if we can get people to eat good wholesome food, and that means growing it to begin with in a place like this, taking it home and cooking it.
This is a place that's bucking the trend in Scotland. Latest data shows that people here living in the Perth and Kinross area on average are living a healthy life for 13 or 14 years more than people living in other council areas such as North Lanarkshire and North Ayrshire. Aberfeldy is on a quest to become Scotland's healthiest town, but it wants the whole country to join it on that journey.
Even in Perthshire we'll have pockets of deprivation and actually to make decisions to cook food from scratch or even grow food for yourself at home can make a huge difference, but also just finding ways to move, and that might be walking to work. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about expensive gym memberships and buying expensive organic food, it's just about making small changes.
We may never know if Aberfeldy actually becomes Scotland's healthiest town. There's no real way of measuring that. It's designed to be tongue-in-cheek. But it's already having the desired effect, with residents thinking more about what they eat and how they move, getting back to basics, leading to longer lives, but healthier ones too. Fraser Nicholl, STV News, Aberfeldy.
A Highland woman who's been campaigning for a decade for a specialist scanner for people suffering neurological conditions says she will continue her fight. The Scottish Government says treatment is available in Dundee, but Mary Ramsey says people deserve to have treatment available closer to home. She's been speaking to Nicola McCally.
All her life, Mary Ramsey has had essential tremor, a neurological condition that makes her shake uncontrollably.
I was born with it. And sorry. I get quite emotional talking about it. I've had a lot to put up with over the years. Bullying, being physically abused, verbally abused.
For the past 10 years, she's campaigned to get a specialist scanner funded for the Highlands where she lives. The Focus ultrasound could also help people living with Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis, as it targets specific parts of the brain.
It centres on a specific part of the brain that has to do with tremor, and it basically burns it away.
Mary has had another procedure that fitted electrodes into her brain, which has helped. It's estimated there are around 600 people living with essential tremor in Scotland.
Because I've had DBS, I wouldn't qualify for the Focus ultrasound. But the reason I'm doing this is there is a lot more people with essential tremor need this treatment.
The Scottish Government says there is a scanner available in Dundee, but Mary says that's not good enough and people need to be treated in their own local region. A decade on, she's still fighting and says she will continue to do so, not for herself, but for others who live with a condition that affects every aspect of their lives. Nicola McCally, STV News.
More than 1,000 riders have descended on Perthshire for the inaugural Scone Palace International Horse Trials. With thousands of visitors also expected to attend the event this weekend, traders say it will be a welcome boost for the local economy. Hayley Bomma has spent the day there.
With a palace in the background, it's hoped the new International Horse Trials will be a grand affair. Organisers have taken over the reins from Blair Castle, who ran a similar event last year.
I have to credit the Provost of Perth for approaching us and saying this is such an important event for the local economy and obviously the equestrian community. Would you consider taking it on? We gave it some consideration, looked at it and thought, why not?
There is such a broad range of different riders here at Scone International Horse Trials. Some people here are professionals and others have competed in the most recent Olympics for Team GB. But alongside these international riders, perhaps what makes events like this special is that there's also a range of grassroots classes as well for amateur riders to take part in from across the country. Competitors from more than 9 different countries are taking part across the weekend. And for some, it's been a long journey to get here.
I come from Orkney, so yeah, I started travelling on Friday night last week, so I was 7.5 hours on the boat from Kirkwall to Aberdeen.
Laura Collett from Team GB is competing with her Paris Olympic horse, London 52.
It's hugely important to keep the sport going, really, to have these kind of events step in and put on such a good show for their first running is really impressive, to be honest. And I know the vibe here is all the riders are really impressed.
Over the weekend, riders will take to the cross-country course. It's been created by Alec Lahore, who hails from Murray and will be designing the course for the LA Olympics.
Well, I was pretty surprised actually. I couldn't hear, I got a phone call which I couldn't really hear. And so I had to say, I'll phone you back in 10 minutes and spent the next 10 minutes thinking, did I hear what they just said? Because I wasn't expecting it really. So no, it was a great honour.
With more than 20,000 people expected across the weekend, local traders are hoping for a boost in sales.
It keeps the economy going, and it keeps, with today's economy it is very difficult, but it definitely promotes everybody. Small businesses is very important for the country.
There's still another 2 days to go into the competition, so it's all still to play for in the race to crown the very first winner of the Scone International Horse Trials. Hayley Bomma, STV News.
Well, that takes us to sport now. Chris is here. Now, we were both watching the game last night. You, of course, were at the Toddy. Fans really got value for money, didn't they?
It was brilliant. From the tifo at the beginning of the match to the 2 terrible goals that Aberdeen conceded. But the fight back and the atmosphere at the end of the game, amazing.
It sounded brilliant.
STV Sport.
Sponsored by the C.R. Smith Summer Sale.
Good evening. Yes, Aberdeen manager Jimmy Talleen hailed his players and the home support for helping the Dons recover to a 2-2 draw in their Europa League tie with Romanian side FCSB last night. It was another epic European night under the Pittodrie lights, and they head to Bucharest next week with a tie firmly in the balance. 2 goals down and time ticking. Dante Polvara on the pitch just seconds before did this.
Polvara! Back in it!
Pittodrie was rocking, and so were FCSB. Down to 10 men since the first half, they were desperately hanging on. One super sub goal prompted another.
And it comes, Sokler! And that is what they needed!
2-2 at full time and an away leg in Bucharest next week with everything to play for.
I'm optimistic because because of this, we give us a chance, and that's the most important thing to give us the chance after this 2 down and come back and give us a chance to go through now, and we're gonna give everything to try to catch this chance.
Aberdeen controlled the early part of the game but lost a goal to a hoof up the park and some comedy defending. FCSB clinical in a way Aberdeen were not. Then a lifeline for the Dons, a controversial red card, put the Romanians down to 10 late in the first half. Surely the Reds would capitalise. No, they would not. More comedy defending from Malloy and Canuster allowed Darius Olaru to slide in a simple second. But cue Polvara and Sokler to score and rescue the game for Aberdeen.
I'm pleased by the players to come in, how they perform, how they contribute, the passion they show, because it's a difficult task to come in when and then you start the second half directly 50 seconds and give them that goal, but still have this capacity to never stop believing, and that's the really strong thing to have, and together with the fans.
Shaden Morris missed out but will be fit for the away leg next week. But if they want to progress, Aberdeen will need to leave their dreadful defending at home. Well, that's the European football. What about the domestic football? Well, Dundee have signed attacking midfielder Cameron Congreve on a season-long loan from Swansea. That comes as Dark Blues boss Stephen Presley is looking for another strong performance when his side travel to Kilmarnock tomorrow. Here's Stephanie Daly.
After a difficult start to the season, could this have been the turning point for Stephen Presley and his new-look side? An inspired performance in a 1-1 draw against Rangers at Ibrox, silencing some of Dundee's doubters and instilling belief in a side who aim to go one better at Kilmarnock tomorrow. And there's more good news for the Dark Blues, who've signed attacking midfielder Cameron Congreve on a season-long loan from Swansea.
I think they'll have taken a lot from that. That's a really good Rangers team. That was our strongest team on the day, and we stood up to the game well, and arguably should have won the game. But so that was good signs. But good teams, great players do it on a regular basis, and we have to prove that. We have to prove that it isn't just that one game. We have to do it on a consistent basis if we're going to become a good team.
Consistency is also key for St Johnstone if they're to keep their place at the top of the championship. After back-to-back wins in their opening 2 league games, Saints are out to make it a hat-trick of victories when Arbroath visit Perth. And as his side chases promotion, Valakari is determined to keep his squad intact, with striker Mackenzie Kirk attracting attention.
I want to keep all of my players, I love them, but that's how football works. Sometimes it's not possible, to hold anyone, but at the moment, all of these players, they are our players.
After losing to title rivals Saints last time out, Ross County, who've recruited strongly, aim to make a solid team showing when Partick Thistle visit Dingwall.
I think I can play a massive part. Obviously, the manager brought me in here as an experienced pro, someone that's played in this league before. I've won this league twice. I've managed to get out 3 times. So he knew exactly what he was getting when they brought me to the club, and hopefully that my experience can play a pivotal part to the team.
Stephanie Daly, STV Sport.
Well, from Dingwall, we stay in the Highlands now and to golf, and a new multi-million-pound clubhouse at Royal Dornoch is close to completion. The facility, which aims to improve the off-course experience at the Championship links, is preparing for a soft opening this winter before an official opening next summer.
It's a much better off-course experience. At the moment, our Championship course is well revered around the world. The condition of it, the playability of it, the way it is as a traditional links course is beyond comparison. Our off-course facilities didn't match that. So now we're putting in some of it's equal to what we do on the golf course.
Oh, it looks fantastic. Have a brilliant weekend. We'll see you all back here next week.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Summer Sale.
Well, that takes us to the weekend weather now. Philip is here again, and you and Sean have been asking the viewers to send in some of their lovely pictures, and actually they've sent some real crackers, haven't they?
Yes, they have, Andrea, and these are just a couple of them that have been sent in this week from parts of the north and the northwest. We've got lovely weather ahead this weekend too, so if anyone is heading out and about, reminder, you can upload them to Instagram and also send us them via email. This is our email address here, and we can feature them in the forecast next week. Let's look at the weather.
Outbreaks of ancient sites will gradually settle into an evening pizza plates al fresco. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, the high pressure that's been dominating our weather over the past few days is starting to drift away, and as it does, it cuts off the northerly airflow that's been bringing in the cooler air and lowering our temperatures, and it starts to put us more into a southeasterly. So we're dragging in warmer air, and we'll start to see our temperatures climbing again by the end of the weekend. Back to just now as we head into the overnight period, it's remaining largely dry for many of us, but we do hold on to a lot of that cloud, so it does mean temperatures aren't dropping too far overnight. Lows for most towns and cities around 12 or 13 degrees Celsius. Under any clear skies, some rural spots getting down to around 6 or 7 degrees. So looking ahead to tomorrow, a lot of that cloud throughout the course of the morning could be thick enough to spark off the odd isolated shower. Throughout the course of the afternoon, though, it does tend to thin and break up, and we should be seeing some brighter spells by the afternoon. In the best of the brightness, temperatures reaching highs of around 19 or 20 degrees Celsius. Then looking ahead to Sunday, the high pressure manages to hold on. So again, it will be another largely dry day for many of us. The thickest cloud is across parts of the southwest, where again we could see the odd isolated shower. The best of any brightness will be to the north and the northeast. Those temperatures coming up a degree or two. That's most noticeable when we get to Monday, where we're seeing highs of around 25, possibly 26 degrees Celsius. Another fine, settled and largely dry day to start the new working week. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
I'm going to sneak in a weather photo and see if they might use mine next week. That's where we'll have to leave it from the team here. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.